Welcome to the Mic'd Up Show. I'm your co-host, Carmen, and along with me is Keeghan, and today we have an excellent collab pod episode with you. As you all know, this is fantasy football season. Drafts are coming left and right, and you gotta know who you want to draft. So today we have some quarterback rankings for you. We're gonna be going 32 through 26 in groups of 5 and so on and so forth, and then we're gonna close it out with our 5 through 1. And we're going to have a lot of interesting discussions on these quarterbacks. You ready to get into it?
Let's get it started. We will be trying to keep weekly episodes, so look forward to that. And let's get started. We'll go 32 through 26, or?
Yes, sir.
All right. So at 32, I have Tyler Sow or Spencer Rattler, whichever one is starting.
Yeah, they're still currently competing.
So
to be determined.
And then at 31, I have Joe Flacco. He's getting old. I don't think I could put him any higher. At 30, I have Daniel Jones, who won the starting job over Anthony Richardson. And at 29, I have Trevor Lawrence.
Whoa.
I did probably put him a little too low.
That'll be an interesting discussion to have.
At 28, I put J.J. McCarthy. At 27, Michael Penix Jr. And at 26, I have Justin Fields.
All right. Justin Fields is your guy. You want to elaborate as to why you have him pretty low?
I'm not going to lie. I think he can beat those standards. But I have to speak the truth. He also could be inconsistent. You know, we've seen the Bears that season. He started off really slow and was inconsistent. And then randomly came out and was, looking promising. But we just don't know what we're going to get out of him this year.
And he's not exactly doing with the best weapons. He does have Garrett Wilson, who is a maybe top 10 receiver. It's debatable.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, they have Allen Lazard.
And
it's not exactly what quarterback is looking for, especially when it's your kind of a make or break it season.
Yeah.
So I see your point, but if you saw how he did in Pittsburgh, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception as the starter. That's pretty promising, and there's not a lot of talent over there either.
Yeah, he is my favorite quarterback. I hope he exceeds those, but the Jets, we saw Aaron Rodgers when he went to the Jets. He wasn't having his best season.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a little washed up, though, right now.
Yeah, he's washed up. The thing about Justin Fields that concerns me, too, is that I think the first day of training camp, he got hurt.
I mean, it's just his toe, though.
Yeah, but, still not a good look,
Turf toe is definitely not a good look.
Turf toe is one of the worst injuries. That's what had Deion Sanders. I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons he had to get one of his foot off. So, turf toe is definitely hard to fight with, so.
100%. And there's also 2 other quarterbacks that I have higher, and that would be Trevor Lawrence and J.J. McCarthy. I mean, J.J. McCarthy is an interesting discussion because you don't really know what we're going to get out of him.
Mm-hmm.
However,
he did look
in the
promising.
Kevin O'Connell offense, Sam Darnold was a nobody till he came there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was instantly a top 10 quarterback. This is a promising rookie. I mean, he's a top 10 pick, so he's got to have something that the coaches see in him. And he's got Justin Jefferson, so that's why I have him high. I don't have him in my top 10 or top 15. Barely have him in my top 20. But I think he's definitely not one of the last quarterbacks you should be taking.
Yeah, I think for Dynasty, I'd pick him a lot higher. But for 1 year, just because we don't really know what we're going to get out of him, if it's a 1 year league, I'll pick him a little lower. I got him in the, I think, 6th or 7th round. But if it's a dynasty, I pick him a lot sooner. But Trevor Lawrence, I just don't have any more hope in him. I've always liked him. I do think I was a little too harsh on Trevor Lawrence's name, putting it that low. I think he could have pushed for 20-ish.
I mean, he has Brian Thomas, he has Travis Hunter, and he has a head coach, Liam Cohen, who made Baker Mayfield top 5 quarterback in the league, debatably.
Yeah, I think I just don't see it. I kind of lost faith in Trevor Lawrence. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, he's been a little bit of a disappointment, but yeah.
For a #1 overall pick, he hasn't given me anything.
He most certainly hasn't lived up to the expectations.
Yeah, like I hope.
I just feel like 29's a little too harsh.
Yeah, I probably should have put him at like around 20ish.
I have him in my early 20s.
Yeah, that's where I probably should have put him. Probably would have swapped him with. Yeah, I already know who I'd probably swap him with, but we'll see how he does. Hopefully he can recover, but and injuries too. He does get hurt a lot.
He does.
So I don't know if anybody wants to take the gamble for someone they don't know who's going to stay healthy, because then you're not having him for the full season or 17 games. So he might be QB, 15, 20 through the games he's playing, but if he's not playing, it really goes down to QB 29 because you're not getting any points out of him.
Yeah, I definitely see your analysis.
Yeah.
But personally, I have a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Other than that, the players you listed I have in similar groups. But I'm going to go through my 32 through 26. So at 32, I do have Spencer Rattler / Tyler Shuck, depending on who wins the quarterback competition. At 31, I have Daniel Jones. He won over Anthony Richardson. However, I put him pretty low because Anthony Richardson could easily take that job right back. At 30, I have Russell Wilson. At 29, I have Joe Flacco. At 28, I have Aaron Rodgers. At 27, I have the rookie Cameron Ward. And at 26, I have Sam Darnold.
The one I want to talk about is Russell Wilson. I had him personally a little bit higher. You picked Joe Flacco over.
See, they're both in very interesting situations. They both got promising rookie quarterbacks in Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart. And both of them are definitely gunning for that starting role, but they're leaving it to the veterans. See, the only reason I edged out Joe Flacco over Russell Wilson is because Joe Flacco likes throwing the ball deep. He's definitely a player that likes to make big plays, and he's got solid assets in David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy, and not just counting Malik Neighbors or anything, but there's not really much outside of him. I mean, Wandale Robinson's all right, but
he's not.
But if we're putting that in the conversation, then we could say Cedric Tillman for Cleveland. But yeah, they're kind of like a 1A, 1B situation. It's just they're both very old quarterbacks in not the best offense with rookie quarterbacks gunning for their job. I just feel like given Shedeur Sanders has been a little bit hated on during this offseason / preseason, he'll retain the job a little bit longer than Russell Wilson. Therefore, I had Joe Flacco one spot over him. But yeah, I think Russell Wilson will lose the starting job to Jackson Dart.
I think he'll only take half the season. I think Jackson Dart will get it. Pretty soon. I mean, he looked promising preseason, so yeah. We'll do our 25 through 20.
25 through 21.
Okay, 25 through 21. At 25, I have Tua. 24, I have Dak. 23, I have Aaron Rodgers. 22, I have Caleb Williams. And 21, I have Russell Wilson.
All right, so we got two players that definitely stick out to me, and that would be Dak Prescott and who was 22?
22 is Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams, yes, that is definitely a player that I'd like to discuss. First of all, Caleb Williams, why you have him that low?
Just he holds on to the ball too long, and yeah, I think Ben Johnson can help him, but I just don't have the full trust in him that he's going to be a top 15, top 20, maybe close to top 20 is around where I would have him at. I just think that around my 20, like through 17-ish, those were the players he was like kind of competing with, and I just gave the edge to them. But I could see him going a little further, but I just don't think I'm gonna see a big season from him.
Yeah, I definitely understand the concerns. He's definitely a little bit of a disappointment last season. However, I do have full faith that Ben Johnson can shape him into a better quarterback. I mean, I know it's just preseason, but the last game against the Bills, they looked very promising. They looked very efficient. I mean, he has the weapons. He has Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, Colson Loveland, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore. I mean, he's got a pretty stacked offense, and he has a pretty revamped O-line from offseason to give him the time he needs. But I do understand the concerns, but I just feel like he's in a perfect situation to have a pretty good season, and that's why I have him at 15. Also, as for Dak Prescott, he's definitely a polarizing subject due to his injury concerns, but let's dive into that a little bit.
Well, you said it. Every year it seems like we have a Dak Prescott injury. It doesn't seem like we get full years out of Dak Prescott. So, and he does throw a lot of picks. I just don't think that I would trust him on my team personally. I don't think he can be that bottom 5 quarterback, but I don't think he can be like a quarterback you should be taking as your first quarterback off the board.
I definitely agree. However, I do have him much higher just due to his he's only 1 year removed from being a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. I do believe in the 2023 season he finished as QB3, and it's definitely a question mark whether or not he'll return strong after the ACL tear. So that's definitely a question that people might want to consider as fantasy managers. However, I'm personally willing to take that risk just because he is a pretty good quarterback given healthy, and he has pretty good weapons too. He has Jake Ferguson, he has CeeDee Lamb, and of course they got the new wide receiver in town, George Pickens. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a little too low, but I get the concerns just because you don't know if he's going to be healthy or not.
It's the biggest question is with a lot of these guys that I have on here is injury concerns. Whether you're willing to take, if you're willing to take the risk and say hopefully he doesn't get injured, take him higher. But if you don't want to really risk that, I wouldn't take him too high. I did struggle with a lot of injuries in my fantasy, so I'm just a little bit less. I don't want to take too big of a risk on a player who has a lot of injury history.
I definitely understand wanting to play it safe.
Yeah.
But I do think he's definitely 100% worth a gander as your backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Because he does have the upside of being a pretty solid starter.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. As for my 25 through 21, at 25 I have Bryce Young. At 24 I have Michael Penix Jr. At 23 I have Geno Smith. At 22 I have Justin Fields, and at 21 I have Trevor Lawrence.
Probably Geno Smith is a person I would talk about. I did have him a little higher because it seems like they're going to be using Genty a lot in the passing game. So maybe that gives him a chance to get more, points on the board. If Genty can, take a screen pass for a good bit of yards, it's basically like him running, but counts towards passing.
Genty is actually the reason it concerns me, because I feel like he's definitely going to be a workhorse running back, getting 20 plus carries a game, and that's going to take away from his passing aspect. He's not a very mobile quarterback, so that kind of limits his upside as well, and his lack of targets as well. He has Bowers, who is obviously the best tight end in the league, in my opinion, and he has Jacoby Myers, who's also a pretty solid wide receiver, and he also is reuniting with his old head coach in Pete Carroll. It's just, I don't think that. I think he's going to be a solid backup quarterback. It's just not starter caliber. And I also just like other quarterbacks more than him just because they're in better situations and they have better weapons.
Yeah, I just, from the reports I saw from Raiders training camp and stuff, it seems like they'll be using Genty from the backfield. So, if they're using him from the backfield, that would help out Geno a lot. That's the only reason I have him higher.
Yeah, if Genty is going to be heavily involved in the passing game, then Geno Smith is definitely going to be a lot higher for me. It's just, I don't really know what to expect from him. He's in a new environment, and he's getting older. I mean, he's drafted in 2013 after all. He's only a year younger than Andrew Luck. But, yeah, I get your point as to why he'd be higher, just because he does have the chance to be solid. I mean, he was QB 13 last year. It's just, I feel like other quarterbacks are in better situations.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that Genty is going to be much of a player in the passing game as much as he is going to be in the backfield as a runner.
Yeah, I think Pete Carroll with the interview. I'm just going off of how he's going to plan to use Genty, and it's really just the check down part of it. Gino's not going to be putting in much work. It's just a check down, let Genty go to work. So Genty's really carrying why I have him so high, not Gino himself. I no disrespect to him, but if Genty's not in the pass game as I'm expecting, then I would definitely put Gino lower.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Any other comments on my 26 through 21?
No, it was pretty good. I like it.
All right, so let's move on to the 20 through 16 as we get close to our top 15.
So at 20, I have Bryce Young. 19, I have Drake May. 18, I have Cam Ward. 17, I have Sam Darnold. And at 16, I have Kyler Murray.
All right, so there's 3 appealing quarterbacks that I feel like we should be discussing here. First one is Drake May. I don't have him much higher, but I feel like he's definitely a quarterback that people may want to take a gander at. The second one is Cam Ward, just because he's obviously the first overall pick. There's going to be a lot of discussion as to whether or not he'll break out as a quarterback. And the final one is Kyler Murray, who I have a lot higher than him.
When it comes to Cam Ward, I'll knock him off first. It's just other than Calvin Ridley, really, Tyler Lockett's getting old. It's just the lack of weapons on that offense. I feel like it's not at where it could be. He's a great quarterback, and I think it's a work in progress. It's around this same spot I normally put rookie quarterbacks when it comes to our rankings. Like last year with Caleb Williams, this is around the spot I normally put them. We aren't going to talk about that one. That was I don't know why I did that. That was a stupid pick there. Glad he proved me wrong because I did like him. And then going to Drake May. I would have him higher. The only thing, there's nothing really. Him and Bryce Young were actually interchangeable in my thing, but I feel like Drake May, I would give him the edge over Bryce Young for sure. Drake May is going to be a great quarterback. I think he could have been a little higher, but I do think 19 is a pretty good spot to have him. And the other name was Kyler Murray.
Yes, sir.
And Kyler Murray, I actually put him a lot higher than what I originally did. So I moved him up. Yeah, towards the bottom it was a little rush.
Yes, you originally had him at 23.
Yeah, that one was a little bit of a forgetter, but I did go back and change it to where I think he was deserving of. But Kyler Murray is definitely going to be a good quarterback. He's going to be around that mid spot between 14, 15, and 16 in my opinion. So, yeah.
All right, yeah. Completely understand your analysis. However, I have a little bit of a varying opinion. I think Kyler Murray is just outside my top 10 just because he's a very mobile quarterback. And Marvin Harrison Jr., if you haven't seen him, he looks really good. He looks like a receiver that all the fantasy owners thought he was going to be in his rookie season. And he finished, I do believe, just outside the top 10 last season. I'm pretty confident that he's going to repeat that same production. So I just kind of put him around that similar area where he was before. As for Cameron Ward, I did have him much lower. I had him at 27. Just because he doesn't really have a lot of weapons. He does have Calvin Ridley, but aside from that, it's a little empty.
But off of preseason, if the Titans receivers can catch the ball, that last preseason game, the receivers really did drop the bet.
Cam Ward has not had the greatest performances in preseason, but his receivers have not had the best hands as well.
So, the first preseason game, though, he did look promising. When the receivers were actually catching the ball, he did good. But the second game, there's nothing he can do about the receiver just dropping the ball like that, you know. Tyler Lockett got to get on top of that. As I say, he's getting older. But I like to put the first overall pick, when it's a quarterback, I like to try to put them around the 18 spot. Because they're like right in the middle of, you know, good, bad, you know, you don't know. You know, we haven't seen them in the NFL, so I like to give them a little bit of grace, but not be too harsh, but I also don't want to put them too high.
Yeah, I get that. It's just I don't feel like Cameron Ward's in the best situation to succeed.
Yeah.
But I do understand the idea of not really knowing what you're going to expect. So I feel like Cameron Ward is definitely someone that could be very interchangeable between like the 20s and the late teens. But we just got to hope and pray that he does well and maybe gets his team to at least a positive record.
Yeah, I mean, also my fantasy team is also kind of relying on Cameron Ward, so I gotta give my boy some love, you know.
Gotta have some hope for him.
I gotta put it speaking into existence, you know. He is my QB2 on my team, so.
Yeah, and the last person we discussed was Drake May. I have him a little bit higher. I have him at 17. It's just I feel like his mobility is definitely underrated. He's a pretty mobile quarterback. He has a veteran wide receiver that you can rely on in Stephon Diggs, given he stays healthy. And he also has rookie wide receivers in Efton Chisholm, who's been crazy in preseason, and Kyle Williams, who is supposed to be pretty promising as well. It's Pop Douglas, who, I mean, he's a pretty solid wide receiver too. And he has Hunter Henry. My only concern is Trevion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson being dominant people in the backfield, making it a run priority offense. I mean, Mike Vrabel is the head coach, and he utilized Derrick Henry, making him the entire Titans offense back in the day. So that's really the only thing that concerns me. It's just Drake May is a pretty promising quarterback. And I know he didn't finish the highest last season, but Jacoby Brissett was also the starter for a couple weeks, which also lowered his rankings a little bit.
Yeah. So let's hear your 20 through 16.
All right, so at 20, I have the sophomore J.J. McCarthy. At 19, I have injury-prone Tua Tagovailoa. At 18, I have Matthew Stafford. At 17, I have Drake May. And at 16, I have Jordan Love.
All right, so I think you know one of the ones I'm going to talk about.
Matthew Stafford.
I don't think we have to really. I think we all know. The other one is J.J. McCarthy over Bryce Young. Personally, Bryce Young, I feel like this could be his breakout year. I mean, we saw that towards the end of the season. He gets technically going. Jimmy Horn's looking really explosive in camp and preseason. So
Jimmy Horn's not going to make that much of a difference for us.
He might not make that much of a difference.
Let's be real.
But he does look good. He could, if Thielen is a better receiver room. So if Thielen gets hurt, their season's not good. That's what I'm trying to say. If someone gets hurt, they have someone who's going to come in and he can at least get some catches.
All right, so I'm gonna dive into why I put my quarterbacks where they are. Starting with J.J. McCarthy. I kind of harped on this a little bit earlier, but Kevin O'Connell, he's a head coach that's been famed for turning quarterbacks into somebodies when if they're in a different environment, they're a nobody, which is why I put Sam Darnold pretty low. Kirk Cousins did pretty solid in Minnesota. He was actually a playoff contender. Went to Atlanta and then got benched for Michael Penix. Sam Darnold was pretty much a washed-up bum. Supposed to be a draft bust, third overall pick to the New York Jets. Came to Carolina, didn't do a lot there either. Was a backup for Jimmy Garoppolo for a little bit. And then he came to Minnesota, and Kevin O'Connell shaped him into a top 10 fantasy quarterback. J.J. McCarthy, he does have concerns due to his injury. We don't really know what to see from him. But I feel like history does tend to repeat itself when it comes to the Minnesota offense. And he has pretty solid weapons. He has Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Jalen Naylor, who is definitely underrated, Aaron Jones, who is one of the best receiving backs in the league. It's just J.J. McCarthy, he's in a perfect situation. It just depends on whether or not he'll blossom into the quarterback the Minnesota Vikings drafted him to become. And that's my take. As for Matthew Stafford, I did make these rankings when his back was injured, and I was a little worried about that because we didn't get a lot of insight on that. I felt like that might have been kind of kicked under the rug, kind of like Christian McCaffrey was last season. So that caused me to put him a little bit lower. But now that I know he's practicing again, I definitely should have put him a little bit higher. He does have Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Tyler Higbee if he's healthy. But even if he's not, they drafted Terrence Ferguson.
Yep.
And they also got
I can't say that dude's name.
Kanata Monkfield.
How do you say his last name?
He's been pretty solid during training camp. And he's also just been a pretty consistent quarterback given he's healthy. So he is a very solid quarterback. I'll give him that. He's in a great passing offense. He's got a great offense altogether because, that running game with Kyron Williams, that's insane. It's just back then I made these rankings and his back was an injury that we didn't get a lot of insight about. And that scared me, so I put him a little bit lower. But now that I know that he's all right, I definitely would have put him higher than some of these quarterbacks. But probably not that much.
All right. Well, I did put him decently high. We're doing 15 through 11?
Yes, we are.
At 15, I put C.J. Stroud, who could have... I probably would have switched him with Geno Smith at 14. Looking back on it. At 13, I put Brock Purdy. And at 12, I put Stafford, and 11, I put Mahomes.
So, I do have him ranked pretty similar. But Patrick Mahomes, definitely a consistent top 5 quarterback drafted in fantasy by the general public. Let's talk about him and why we have him lower.
I just think interceptions, he started the season throwing 2 interceptions almost a game. It seemed like.
It was scary.
It was, we really... I'm just not willing to take that risk on him again. There's been times and years after he had a really good year that I've drafted him, and he just didn't put out what we expect from a guy, like a player like him.
He's definitely a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. It's just whether that'll correlate into the fantasy football world is the issue.
Like, these aren't rankings off of how we rank a quarterback. These are rankings off of how many points are going to get you in fantasy.
Precisely.
So that's why he's lower. If we're going off of, actual football rankings, he's top 5. But if we're going off of fantasy, we got to lower him down a little bit.
And he's also not got the best weapons either. Travis Kelce, he's been on a pretty steady decline since last season. Rashee Rice, he's on pace to be suspended for a pretty long time. So I definitely avoid him as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think
Hollywood Brown, he's getting old and pretty injury prone. I feel like the only promising area is Xavier Worthy, who started to blossom a little bit in the postseason.
So yeah, that's my reasoning on Mahomes. As I said before, I probably would have, going back to when I made these rankings, I probably would have put C.J. Stroud over Geno, and maybe put C.J. Stroud actually at 13 over Brock Purdy. Personally.
Yeah, but essentially my rankings are relatively similar to that. A lot of the quarterbacks that you listed are either higher or slightly lower, but Brock Purdy is right around that same area as well as Patrick Mahomes. But I'm going to dive into my 15 through 11. At 15, I have Caleb Williams. At 14, I have Brock Purdy. At 13, I have Dak Prescott. At 12, I have Patrick Mahomes. And at 11, I have Kyler Murray.
Not too much to talk about. The only one that we already talked about really was Caleb Williams. So I guess let's talk about Kyler Murray. We talked about him, but...
I feel like we already covered him,
Yeah.
so why don't we talk about Brock Purdy? We have him ranked pretty similar.
Yeah.
But let's just
No surprise.
dive in onto what we think about him.
Yeah.
So, personally, I put him there just because he is a good quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. So I put him in that good tier of backup quarterbacks you want to have. He does have really good weapons given they're healthy. Juwan Jennings requested a trade and he's hurt. Brandon Ayuk, we don't even know if he's going to play this season just because of his ACL and MCL tear. That's I feel like we don't talk about it, but it's like Tank Dell level. And Tank Dell, I mean, I don't know if you guys know what happened to him, but it's not looking too hot for him right now. And he does have, of course, George Kittle, who's a top 3 tight end in the league, and Ricky Pearsall, who started to show a little bit of promise at the end of the season, but he was hurt at the beginning. So we don't really know what to see from him, but I expect high hope things from him. But yeah, I feel like Brock Purdy could be a really great quarterback. Even greater if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy. But we don't know if that's going to happen either. It's just a matter of staying healthy and efficiency from the receivers. And right now we don't really know what we're going to get. So I feel like we put him at a happy medium at 14.
I mean, he's, as I said, when it comes to Brock Purdy, he's gonna get his check downs. He doesn't have to deal with a bunch. I mean, great team, just a game manager. So, but it turns into fantasy points. So that's my thoughts on him.
Yeah, completely understandable. We both have him ranked pretty similar, but he's just kind of like an average quarterback. There's not really a lot to cover on him. He's just like someone I'd be like, okay, I'll take him in your fantasy draft. He's not like someone I'm like super high on, but he's also not someone I'd want to stay away from at all costs.
Yeah.
So let's dive into our top 10.
So going 10 to 6.
Yes, sir.
So at my 10, I have Jordan Love.
Whoa.
At my 9, I have Jared Goff. At my 8, I have Bo Nix. 7, Justin Herbert, and 6, Baker Mayfield.
So we have essentially very similar top 10s. Aside from Jordan Love, I had him outside my top 15, but you have him inside your top 10. So let's cover that.
I think Jordan Love has a good year because last year we take into account that he did get hurt first game of the season and he came back early, but you still have to consider the injury. And also I think that he has plenty enough of people around him to go to. Josh Jacobs, he's going to take away carries, but he has Jalen Reed, he has Matthew Golden, he has Romeo Dobbs if he doesn't get traded, because I know he's in trade rumors. But he has plenty enough of people around him to have a good year. I just think he'll bounce back this year for sure.
I mean, I don't think he's a bad quarterback by any means. It's just he doesn't really have an elite wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's got pretty solid receivers. I mean, we don't know what to expect from Matthew Golden, but personally, I'm not way too high on him. And I mean, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, and Jaden Reed, they're all all right. They're not by any means a wide receiver one, and they do have Tucker Kraft, who's a pretty great tight end. But it's just I feel like he doesn't have an explosive wide receiver that would put him above others. However, I do feel like he is a solid quarterback. But Josh Jacobs, I do think he's going to take away a lot from that offense just because Green Bay's always been a pretty run-heavy offense.
Yeah, I'm just going to be honest. I'm a big believer in Jordan Love this season. So.
Yeah, I understand it. Personally, I'm a little bit lower.
I think he's going to be good. As with all these rankings, every ranking can probably come back and hurt you, but I'm willing to take the risk on it.
All right. I'm going to cover my 10 through 6. At number 10, I have CJ Stroud. At number 9, I have Justin Herbert. At number 8, I have Bo Nix. At 7, I have Jared Goff. And at number 6, I have Jaden Daniels.
Where'd you put Baker Mayfield? Or is he higher?
I have Baker Mayfield at 5. I have
Okay.
one above Jaden Daniels.
I guess Jaden Daniels being outside your top 5 is what I would cover.
So Jaden Daniels, no hate on him. He's an elite quarterback. He has an excellent running game as a quarterback. He's an excellent thrower. But it's actually due to his receiver that I put him a little bit lower than he normally would be. We don't know if Terry McLaurin's going to be traded or not. It could be just a business move to get his extension quicker, Or he could be traded. He could be a New England Patriot. He could be really on any team, depending on who wants him. And that does concern me. Jaden Daniels is an elite quarterback, but there's only so much you could do when you have Deebo Samuel, who gained like 50 pounds over the offseason as your wide receiver 1. So until Terry McLaurin holds out, doesn't get his contract, and potentially gets traded, I'm going to have him a little bit lower than these other 5 quarterbacks who I think are still elite. But I'd put Jaden Daniels in that similar conversation.
Okay. So we're at 5 through 1?
Yeah.
So at my 5, I have Jalen Hurts. At my 4, I had Jaden Daniels. 3, Joe Burrow. 2, Lamar Jackson, and 1, Josh Allen.
All right, so let's cover Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
He is the top 5 quarterback on your rankings. He's top 5 as well for me.
Mm-hmm.
But let's dive in to why you have him where he is. You had him a little bit lower last year. You had him at 8.
Yeah.
And he did finish at 8, but he was on pace for top 5 due to his concussion towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
But let's dive into him. Why do you have him where he is?
Last year, as I said, when I put him at 8, he did start to prove that point wrong. But he ended up finishing there, so it worked out. But I still think that Jalen Hurts has a really good year. I think that I have more high hopes on him, and I trust him more. Seeing how he performed in the Super Bowl under all that pressure, and seeing how he performed throughout the season, he performed good, and no really worries about him, you know. And I no longer dislike the Eagles, so that plays a role. I'm not like I try not to be biased, but I'm not.
But the bias goes away a little bit.
Yeah, like it's not biased as in I'm putting him, all the way at the bottom. It's like it wasn't a terrible ranking at 8, but I definitely could have put him higher last year.
I definitely could have put him lower.
Yeah.
I was a little biased putting him at 2.
Yeah, I did. I did the bare minimum. Like I have to at least put him here. But this year I said, you know what? I think he could be a top 5 quarterback. I definitely have a lot more respect for Jalen Hurts.
And of course the tush push. I mean, they use it whenever they can.
So
easy 6 points for your quarterback, and you don't really get that from a lot of your quarterbacks.
For sure.
But yeah, my top 5 is relatively similar aside from Jaden Daniels. So I'm gonna cover my 5 through 1 as well. At number 5, I have Baker Mayfield. At 4, I have Jalen Hurts. At 3, I have Joe Burrow. At 2, I have Josh Allen, and at 1, I have Lamar Jackson.
I guess we could talk about the flip-flop. I had Josh Allen ahead of Lamar. You had Lamar ahead of Josh. I guess you can. That's what we can
I mean, I know it's like a 2-1, but the competition is a lot closer than you think.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen, he is elite quarterback. He has great rushing ability. He's got an elite arm. It's just I feel like what I put Lamar Jackson over him is just because the weapons he had. Again, I did put him lower last year just because of the lack of weapons he has. I feel like he has Khalil Shakir, who's a great wide receiver, but not a wide receiver 1. He has Dalton Kincaid, who's supposed to be good, but not exactly living up to the expectations. And aside from that, I mean, James Cook, he's been a pretty great receiving back. But I just put Lamar Jackson over him just because I feel like personally he's a better rusher. He's got better weapons. He's got Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, I'd say likely, DeAndre Hopkins. Rashad Bateman started showing a little bit of something at the end of the season. And while, yes, he does have Derrick Henry, which would take away from his mobility design plays, I just feel like Lamar is in a better situation. And it is a lot closer than you think again. But I just feel like just because of the situations they have, I put Lamar over the edge. I mean, they're both MVPs. So I feel like it's not really disrespectful to put either of them one above the other. It's a close race.
And from reports of training camp, Keeghan Coleman is looking like more like a receiver 1, but he's on my fantasy team. I don't know if I fully trust that. I'm gonna be real with y'all.
See Keeghan Coleman in the dog cage.
I think that's perfect. I think that's perfect time to wrap this one up.
No. Let's keep going.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. But on real notes and being serious, Keeghan Coleman, if he has as big of the I'm going off what they're saying. If he is taking that step up, that's another weapon. But at the same time, I don't know if I trust it fully because he did disappoint me on my fantasy team last year.
He was definitely a little bit of a disappointment. But yeah, I feel like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they're very interchangeable, and our rankings are relatively similar, but we have pretty good differences, and we both kind of reached a mutual understanding. But yeah, that concludes our first rankings of the season. Hope you apply these in your fantasy drafts, and hopefully you guys win a championship. Thank you for listening to the Mic'd Up Show with your co-host Keeghan Fisher and Eric Carmen, and that concludes today's episode.